Our guest today, Thomas McCray, has a wealth of knowledge in transforming the customer experience for D2C e-commerce brands. As VP Customer Experience at Snow, he played a key role in creating a more engaging and supportive journey for their customers. Thomas had shared some powerful insights into how enhancing customer experience can drive meaningful growth. And we thought his approach would be incredibly valuable to other merchants facing similar challenges. So, before we dive into the content and into the questions of today's conversation, Thomas, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your role at Snow?
Well, certainly, and thank you, Osnat, for that inspiring introduction. For a second, I almost thought you were talking about someone else, so I really appreciate that. I've been in contact centers since 3-ring binders to Excel spreadsheets and now to AI. I'm happy to share some insights and thoughts with your audience today. I started with Snow in July of 2021, and in my role, I'm generally responsible for overseeing and improving the overall experiences that customers have with the company. And that starts with everything from hiring the right people, keeping them motivated towards our goals, applying the appropriate technology for our business, and maintaining a culture, in which people are excited to come to work and do the work that they do every day.
Let's dive into challenges, then talk about opportunities. So,
Okay.
Thomas, brands are always looking for ways to boost growth, but often feel limited by challenges of managing customer experience at scale, right? What are some of the
Mhm.
most common obstacles you see that brands are experiencing as they try to grow through better customer experience?
Yeah, and particularly to that point of scalability, right? And managing the scalability with the customer experience. I think some of the challenges that are incurred are investment in technology. We all operate with limited budgets. The next one I think will be people. It's keeping good people. It's attracting good people. It is having people who can see what our objectives are from more than just their job, but adopt that as their mission. I think that speaks to culture. Culture is a challenge sometimes when you're scaling because it seems like scaling in some cases may become the priority over culture. We've got to make sure we maintain a good balance of that. And I think last but certainly not least would be maintaining the customer focus. Sometimes when we are scaling or growing, we get into the other activities of scaling and growth and may lose sight a little bit of what the ultimate goal is, which is the customer.
So, how did Snow, and you did a great thing at Snow of facing these obstacles and growing from that. So, how did Snow approach these challenges initially, and what are the strategies that you found effective for unlocking new growth possibilities?
From the technology standpoint, Osnot, we made a concerted effort to intimately understand what customers love about Snow and what their pain points were, and I think that part was critical. Um, we also had to measure the complexity of our IT versus the effectiveness of our IT. So we wanted to be sure that it wasn't so complex that it was challenging for our employees to perform the tasks, or that it was more challenging to appropriately hire people and have them adopt to the technology easily. So that was important to us. And I think one that's really critical is to avoid just chasing every shiny new tech object out there. I think by understanding our customer, we understand what their needs are, and their needs are not always built around better tech. I think for the people aspect, and specifically for staffing and employee retention, employee satisfaction is super critical. I mean, you've never seen a grumpy person or a dissatisfied worker giving great customer experiences. So employee satisfaction is key to that, as well as employee motivation, making sure that people aren't just doing their jobs, but they're motivated to do their best at their jobs. And last but not least is retention, employee retention. It's keeping good people because during growth, things can get chaotic. And, sometimes we have great people leave because we didn't give them the attention that they deserve during that time frame. And I think when I think of culture, I think we did a good job of creating an environment where people had a personal attachment to the work. And what we mean by that is we took a look into the not just the work of the employee, but the actual employee. And we recognize that people who are in customer support in this line of work, genuinely one thing that we all have in common is we like helping people. And so our mission every day is not to come and process refunds. It's not to answer customer questions. Our mission internally is to help people because that's how we feel good at the end of the workday. So we wanted to create a personal attachment to the work. We also upped our efforts with employee appreciation. And it doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar program or some complicated SOP. Sometimes it's as simple as leaving a Post-it note on someone's monitor saying, I saw the great numbers you put up yesterday. Thank you very much. Making employees but genuinely communicating our appreciation to those agents. And we did a great deal of listening. During growth, companies typically are experimental in certain spaces and certain areas of what we're trying to accomplish. And it's so important to let our frontline people tell us what they think is great, what their pain points are, so that we're making sure we're going in the right direction. And then maintaining customer focus. It seems like a real obvious one, but one thing that's very true is that high growth can be distracting. And it was important for me and my leadership team to make sure that we stayed disciplined on, personally reviewing customer feedback. What we found is that as we're, adopting new technologies, and then you've got to create some new SOPs, and you've got to train it, and all that other activity that goes with that, we found ourselves, we might go 2 or 3 days without looking at performance reporting because we got caught up in the growth aspect of it, and we caught ourselves. And so we, realigned ourselves with a schedule to review customer feedback, back to our regular schedule. We then established structured time for employee feedback. We have employee feedback meetings every other Friday and every other Monday. So that's where our agents get the opportunity to tell us what's been working, what they think about the plan, identify new customer trends. And so we have that time built into our schedules. And then the last one I think that was kind of a surprise to us was the need to adjust KPIs according to the needs of the customer. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but there are some particular KPIs that, as an industry standard, we know what they are, but then we've got to look and go, does that make sense for what we're trying to accomplish with this quote unquote new customer? The customer post-COVID is different than the customer 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And so we've got to be sure that the KPIs and what we're driving towards is accomplishing the needs of the new customer.
It's always changing, and you need to be adaptable also. Let's talk about data. So data is key to understanding customers in every industry, especially in the digital space. How does Snow use customer data to improve the experience and anticipate the shopper needs?
Yeah, and I might answer this one in reverse of how most people would answer. Data, it's the roadmap to the destination of exceptional customer experience land. In addition to the use of data to determine if we're making headway towards those established goals, I think data can also indicate when a KPI goal is actually detrimental to achieving customer experience goals. And I'll share an example of what I mean. In customer support, fairly standardly, there is a KPI of AHT, which stands for average handling time. And it's interesting to note that AHT specifically is an efficiency KPI, not a quality of service KPI. So what we found out is that our agents were trying to meet the AHT goal as opposed to the primary goal of satisfying the customer. So initially, when I came to the company, we had a 4-minute AHT, and we also had some customer support or some customer satisfaction concerns. And so we went back and reviewed calls, and we found out that agents were taking the measures that they felt they needed to take in order to reach the AHT goal. Things like, well, try what I just shared with you and then call us back if it doesn't work, as opposed to, let's try that solution together. I'm going to stay on the phone while you try it. So using that experience, using that example, we took AHT out of our mandatory KPIs. It's something we keep an eye on, but the agent is not responsible for handling time, for handle time. They're responsible for the quality of the interaction that they have with each individual customer.
So you measure that. You measure the quality of the call and not the time that it takes.
We measure both, but the priority is on quality and time that it takes. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we have budget restraints, so we can't keep hiring more people. But if the efficiency becomes an issue, we take that first. We're going to go look at what processes that we have in place, how can we streamline them so that we can remain efficient and still offer optimal service to our customers, and take the pressure off of an agent who then has to make a decision. Am I going to hit my AHT goal, or am I going to fully satisfy this customer? And I think we've all been on a service call at some point in our lives where we could tell when that agent was trying to rush us off the phone. We don't want our folks to have that experience.
Right. So if we talk about measurement, let's touch on measuring success. The customer experience is a very broad area. There are so many aspects to it, and sometimes it's challenging to measure. What are you looking at when you say success? How do you define and measure success in customer experience at Snow, and what metrics matter to you most, to you and to the team?
Yeah, but as you know, in the customer experience world, there are, literally 100 metrics to measure. And we just want to make sure that we're keeping our focus on the ones that have the most impact. And for us, we have 3 different levels of success measurement. We have departmental level. Some examples of departmental level would be, for example, CSAT. What is our overall customer satisfaction rating for the company? We do pay close attention to resolution times. Our agents resolving the customer's issue within 24 hours. And return reasons, and some of those associated opportunity SKUs. We keep a close eye, probably the closest eye on those 3 things from a departmental level, and we measure them consistently. At the agent level, we look at things like the number of support tickets handled per agent. We look at the agent's individual resolution time, so we can look for opportunities to coach them to being within a reasonable parameter. And then, of course, the individual CSAT. How do customers feel about that individual agent when they engage with them? We also have public-facing measurements as well, and those are things like, what does our reputation look like with Trustpilot? How about our BBB scores? Or what about our Amazon and our TikTok ratings? So we have those 3 primarily categories, and those are the top tier metrics that we measure.
Do you have there also the chat, the concierge on the website as a measure? If you look at all those aspects.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, Rep AI made us look at our business in different ways, and we actually ended up adopting new AI related KPIs, and we measured them in things like, how many of the AI conversations did the customer end up adding one of our products to their shopping cart? And for us, that number currently is about 34%, which is really, really good. For Rep AI, we also keep a close eye on conversations that converted to sales. That's every interaction that Rep AI had with a customer. How many of those converted to sales? And that number is about almost right at 9.5% right now, which is really as anyone in e-com would know, that's a very very high conversion rate at a 9.48% actually. And of course, we look at, what impact did Rep AI have on reaching the customer's ultimate goal, their resolution rate. And ours is about 95% of the customers who interact with the Rep AI on our website. 95% have their issue or their question resolved while they're on the site. The end result of that, of course, is that fewer customers end up reaching out to customer support. So we do keep a close eye with our Rep AI representative Daffy on how many customers who path from our website to contacting customer support, and that literally is down like 50% over the year before, or the year and a half or so before we started with Rep AI. So we do look at those numbers as well, but we look at AI separately from what the agent is accountable for.
Let's we talked about the start and the current, and it's always a challenge to get somebody to a shopper to buy, but then there's the long-term value, right? The customer retention, increasing the customer lifetime value. That's a major goal to any brand, and ensuring that they return and buy again, and more products in their cart, that they grow the average order value. So what role, which is not common, right? But what role is customer experience playing to drive repeated business and increasing customer lifetime value at Snow?
Oh, that's a great question. For repeat customers and customer lifetime value, I think it's important to recognize that the customer experience that we deliver, it sends a message to the customer. It tells them how much the company cares about them beyond the transaction. And when customers feel that we rendered a service to them that wasn't mechanical, that wasn't processed, that wasn't the person just doing their job, then that's when we are personally connecting with the customer and they are experiencing our agent, not company process. So I think we should all make a great effort to make that type of personal connection between the brand and the customer, and that's in the hands of our customer experience agents. One thing that we teach our agents in training and that we remind them of almost on a weekly basis that lends itself to a long customer lifetime value, a high customer lifetime value, is that we tell our agents, give the customer what they should expect plus a little bit more. When we give that little bit more, that's what takes an average experience and makes it above average. We also share this analogy, if you will, with them. When I go to the gas station and I want to put some gas in my car, and I take the nozzle off of its resting place, and I swipe my card or tap my card, and I put the gas in. I mean, everything works just like it's designed to work. So it's not a great experience. It's an average experience. However, when I'm standing there and all of a sudden this ad starts blaring at me, it really just took my average experience and made it a less than average experience, because the company wanted to promote this new widget, or the company wanted to use this new technology. But what it did is it actually made my experience, which was already average, not dissatisfied, not overly satisfied, just average, and actually reduced it. We turn that the other way around. We take that average and we try to give each customer a little bit more. And that's how we turn 3s into 4s and 4s into 5s on ratings and surveys. And as a matter of fact, when we hire people, one of the interview questions is, tell me of a time when you broke the rule in order to help a customer. And it's such an interesting question. And some people have said, I've never broken a rule. I always stick to the policy. And that's the person we don't want. We want someone who's going to break the rules every now and then satisfy the customer. And if we need to change the rule, then we'll change the rule. But we shouldn't have, the agent feeling like there's something I could have done, but I didn't do it for the customer because it was against the rules. And I think those combination of things leave a feeling with the customer that they're more than just a transaction, that we truly do care about them as an individual being successful with snow.
That is so important. And you touch on the subject of their how they feel, the human and the genuine, experience, engaging with your team.
Hmm.
So but then you adopt technologies, right?
Hmm.
You love bringing technologies into snow and make them valuable. So how do you balance, enhancing customer experience, of course, and optimizing the whole thing, but yet ensuring it still feels genuine and engaging for the shoppers? So it's not feeling mechanic, like you said.
I think there has to be a strong involvement of customer support when implementing AI and maintaining AI. In our case, Rep AI was implemented by our customer support team, by me and my team. And it worked out well for us, I think, because we have that intimate understanding of what customers love and what their pain points are. And although we initially went into Rep AI from a customer support standpoint, it quickly became evident to us that by approaching the customer correctly and taking our approach, we could take them down a sales path, even though their initial inquiry was about a support issue. So having support involved, I think, is very, very critical, and that helped us to implement Rep AI in a way that was really from a department that is the highest in customer-driven activity than any other in the company. We consistently monitor customer behaviors and adjust. I mean, when we talk about making sure it feels genuine and making sure it feels engaging, we've got to remember that different types of years, times of the year, different things are attractive to different shoppers. Different products in the market will make a shopper behavior a little different than others. For example, we just had our purple serum go viral on TikTok. And so that viral customer is a different type of customer than the one you have to market to, who needs to see your product, 2 or 3 times before making a purchase. They're instantly buying. So by understanding those behaviors from that customer cohort, what we were able to do was work with our representative Daffy, which we're extremely happy with having her on our account, on modifying some of our approaches on Rep AI to identify that TikTok customer differently than we do our other customers, and provide a different way of communicating with them as we do our regular customer base. So, but by monitoring those behaviors, and that allows us to come to the recognition that we need to make those types of adjustments. We also take a look along the lines of monitoring customer behaviors, engagement rates. In our reporting dashboard, we'll look and see how many customers that Rep AI was approached actually engaged with Rep AI, and that tells us we may need to adjust on our business side what Rep AI is approaching the customer, the language that we're using, the timing that we approach the customer with. That gives us that advantage. And another one that comes to mind is conversations that are resolved by Rep AI. Right now, our resolution rate with Rep AI as we sit here is about 95%. And so that just says that when customers engage, that Rep AI is able to satisfy the customer's needs. And the way that we know that is because we literally ask them, did this satisfy your needs? Yes or no question. So by making those adjustments, we're able to push that number as high as we can get it, because we are constantly monitoring customer behaviors and making those types of adjustments. Lastly, I think to keep it genuine and engaging with our customers, I kind of alluded to it a few seconds ago, but it's working very, very closely with our business partners and ensuring that we're not just talking about how the tech is implemented and how the tech works, but we want to make sure that they understand our brand promises and our culture, so then they know how to apply that technology to our specific business needs. Another thing that's been helpful for us is that Daffy has been, as committed to our goals as we are. I actually like to use the phrase that Daffy sometimes she's actually thinking when we're not thinking, and so I think those are the three key things that have helped us to make the experience feel genuine for the customer and engaging for our shoppers.
So I know executives watching this are interested in numbers. So, what growth metrics have you been tracking since adopting AI? And have you seen those? How did you see these numbers shift?
Well, that's such an interesting question, Osna, because prior to Rep AI, we didn't have the AI related numbers to measure, right? So we've been looking at growth from day one from that lens. And our early adoption to Rep made us look at our business in different ways and adopt, new AI related KPIs. And I know execs love numbers and conversions. As I mentioned earlier, the conversion rate, which is key for DTC, again, the add to cart rate is so high because that's just a straight funnel to sales. And then we look at our conversions that converted to sales. I mentioned earlier was about 9.5%. The other number that we look at that is also equally as important is our conversion rate of our abandoned checkout customers. And together we designed the abandoned checkout process where Rep AI is intelligent enough to identify the customer by IP address. And what makes that so important is that if a customer puts something in their cart, but they don't have an account with us, we don't have their name, we don't have their phone number, we don't have anything. Rep AI's ability to identify that customer by IP address benefits us because the next time the customer comes to our site, we're going to say, hey there, we're so glad that you put that electric toothbrush in your cart. Please know, here's our discount offer. We offer them maybe a 20% discount, but we acknowledge that customer immediately, assuming that if they've come back, that they're 80%, have an 80% propensity to place that order. We want to move that 80% to 90%. And we've been able to have a super high conversion, literally in the 30 to 35% range for those abandoned carts. And I think those numbers should speak to any executive, anyone who cares about the financial health of their business.
And that's interesting. I want to just touch on that a bit because there's a unique combination that has never been before on the CX and sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this work with AI, right? You're doing CX, that's about customer satisfaction, and now you're talking sales numbers. So
Mm-hmm.
how did it come about that you're starting to touch sales, and you're touching sales numbers and growth numbers? It becomes a part of your role. Can you tell us that how did that shift into what it is today?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So as the VP of customer experience is very broad. And so we initially went into the Rep AI experience looking for ways for customers to get their answer while they're online so they don't have to be distracted by making a phone call or sending an email to customer support in order to get an answer to a buying question. We wanted those answers for buying questions to be resolved while they're on the site. And as we were developing that aspect of Rep AI, we quickly noticed that Rep AI, by following the customer path, look, if we've just answered their question, why don't we just take them to the next step of placing the order? And so it evolved from the customer answer their questions, customer pre-buying questions, and it evolved into if we've answered their questions successfully, let's just go ahead and send them down the sales path. And so we really streamlined the path that a customer would typically take to place an order, particularly those who had questions like, what are the ingredients? What is your warranty? What about your satisfaction guarantee? All those questions are resolved right there in that one experience, alleviating the need for the customer to reach out and get any additional answers from customer support.
That's amazing, and that became a basically a revenue center, right? The CX is now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we report the Rep AI revenue under customer support. We manage Rep AI. We manage the implementation. We work with Daffy closely to manage the ongoing updates and the very welcomed updates that come from Rep AI. And so that for us has been, astronomical because we're able to say, here's how much my department costs, but here's how much we brought in revenue.
Right.
And by the way, we brought in that revenue under the lowest cost to acquire a customer possible. They visited the website and then from that experience needed no other touch from any other human in order to place that order. And so we gained our efficiencies and are able to report that increased revenue as well.
That's wonderful. So as customer experience field in general is evolving, the technology is evolving, AI comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
What AI trends do you think will play a major role in shaping the future of D2C that you see?
I think the first one is the AI virtual agent. And it is, some think it's a way of replacing, agents, the human aspect with AI. But the AI virtual agent, in my opinion, should not be an all out solution for customer support. It should be a partner of customer support. So AI virtual support agents can take care of we call them non-decision contacts. The contacts that a customer makes where the agent is not making a decision, they're not doing any problem solving. They're basically just saying, I see your orders in Mississippi. You should have it in 2 days. So we use AI for that aspect of the customer experience, which then allows those agents to spend more time with more complicated customer service issues and work on continuously reducing the resolution time for those and increasing the level of satisfaction, reducing the customer's level of frustration with those types of issues. So I think when appropriately implemented, the AI virtual support agents is going to play a major role. The next thing I think is some of the multimodal capabilities of AI. I can talk to an AI or I can experience AI online, for example, and the AI agent will say, would you like me to email you information or a summary of this call? I think the multimodal capabilities are going to be huge as that aspect of AI support continues to grow.
So it was a very insightful call. It was absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure people would want to learn more from you. If they want to connect with you or learn more, where can they find you?
They can find me at on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And that would be try Snow. If you hit Snow Cosmetics and you'll click on people and you'll see that I am there.
Well,
I think to see in action some of the things that we talked about today, folks can go to trysnow.com and actually see our AI agent by Rep, in live action.